Wandera, Nayabamba Kunganji, Nayabamba, Yirinji Walabara. I'm Alvarina Johnson. I am a descendant of King Yini of Cairns of Wallabara, Yirinji, and King Menmani of Yarrabah of the Kunganji people. My favorite moments growing up in Yarrabah is living on the land, on the beach. I grew up lived in a little tin shack with my parents and my siblings. And they were probably the most important times, because that's where I learned a lot about the ocean and about fishing, as taught to me by my grandmother, who was a Yirinji Wallabara woman living on Kunganji country, married my grandfather, a Kunganji man. So it was during those times living on the beach and going to school every day from a little tin shack. And my morning tea and lunch was seafood every day. So they were probably the most valuable times of my whole life, really, because that's where I learned good values. That's where I learned about looking after country and looking after the sea. But most importantly, it's where I learned about how the sea looks after us and provides for us, because otherwise I wouldn't have had morning tea and lunch every day. The story about the painting behind me, Reef Connection, is pretty much an expression of what I've learnt as a child growing up, but also from my grandmother and my parents, my ancestors, about the connection between us as Kunganji people, our connection to the ocean and the reef, because early days, they would often tell stories about how they used to be able to walk out on the reef before, because it was part of our creation stories as well, and that they could hunt and gather out on the reef. But also that the reef was pretty much like the bloodline and the heartbeat of the ocean, and all of that heartbeat and connection flows back to the land and flows back into the mangroves and then into the rainforest. And as you know, that history tells us that there are a lot of evidence of sea animals and shells that you could find in the rainforest as well. That's also connected to the stories of the ocean and the reef. And here in North Queensland, we have the Great Barrier Reef as a big part of our story, and an important part, because if we don't look after our sea life and our reef life, then it won't look after us. And as we know, if the reef is destroyed, then it will be very easy for the land to also be destroyed, because it's all connected up. I was really excited, but what I didn't realize was that it was going to be on a wall of its own, because I actually thought it was part of a collective that was going to go into the convention center with all of the other displays of other Indigenous artworks. But yeah, just coming in here and meeting, the team from here, Convention Center, Cairns Convention Center, and saying, this is the wall here. And I was like, oh, I was a bit taken aback there, because this is actually the biggest artwork piece that I've done for anyone. I've done big pieces before, but not as big as this one. So I thought, I really sort of have to sit back and think about what I'm going to do. But as I mentioned it wasn't too hard to come up with the concept, given the location of the Cairns Convention Centre, being right, in front of the ocean and also facing the direction of Yarrabah. It was easy to put together the story, and also knowing that this area here where the convention center sits, there's a lot of stories attached to this space. So I'm really excited to be the chosen artist, and excited that, I don't know how many people walk through these doors every year or whatever, but it's going to be it's a place where I'm hoping that the artwork will speak to people, make them feel good, prompt questions and educate them as well. But most importantly, that it will give this space a sense of more sense of connection to the land, to the people, and to the story, and be part of that reconciliation process of not just us coming into the space, but being part of the tools to build relationships and stories